Analysis machine? Query.
What is your question?
What did happen to Baldo?
Accessing file 13.
Hey guys, this is D Reaper, and it's time once again for Reaper's Review. So today we're going to be talking about Baldo, but before we get into it, Analysis Machine, is the HBO special still going on?
I am afraid that the HBO special has ended.
I see. Well, the Help a Brother Out special might have ended, but don't let that stop you from liking and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. We'll see what we can do in the future. Alright, with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Gaming has come a long way, and for the most part that's a very good thing. But some believe, as I do, that some advancements in gaming have come at the expense of some of the charm that we used to find in their predecessor. One of the reasons that the indie market is flourishing, as they often try to walk the line of bringing us the level of fun and adventure we're used to with all the charms of days gone. Well, what's more adventure-inducing than The Legend of Zelda? And what's more charming than Studio Ghibli? Nothing, that's what. So when Baldo's first trailer dropped in 2017, it got a lot of attention. I didn't have to hear the interview from the creators to see where they drew the inspiration from, but it was confirmed that this would be something of a fusion between the two styles. Now, if you've been a gamer for more than 20 minutes, then you're probably used to frequent delays on the games you want to play most. So it wasn't a surprise to me when a few years went by and there was no word about a release date. But the game was finally released August 21st, 2021, and I had no idea. Though I was highly anticipating this game, there hadn't been any promising updates in the past few years. Every now and then they would say, hey, remember, we're still working on this game, and show the same trailer. A good looking trailer, sure, but nothing new. Since there wasn't any promising information out there, I would go by every several months to check on the status, and then be on my merry way. So one day when I checked and thought the game had been out for almost a year, it was more than a little surprising. And truly, what was causing the biggest shock is that nobody was talking about it. Now listen, I hate spoilers, and I will absolutely go out of my way to make sure I don't get spoiled. But since I didn't know the game was out, I couldn't actively, consciously avoid it. And the fact that it generated a lot of interest previously, but hadn't made much of a splash after being out for almost a year, was a little concerning. But I chalked it up to the fact that it could have been a shadow release, and maybe the same thing that happened to me happened to everybody else. Now, I did see one telling line when I looked up Baldo. Something along the lines of all the bugs finally being fixed. Alright, the game has been debugged, all good stuff. I picked up my copy for the Switch, and got ready to dive right into the adventure. The story starts off with Baldo asleep under a tree. This is good. 70% of Zelda games start off with Link waking up from a dream. We're off to a solid start. Next thing we know, we're running around the town doing fetch quests and gathering supplies, helping plant turnips, delivering an old shovel, finding lost chickens.
Chicken chaser? Do you chase chickens?
The typical role-playing game intro. A few things I noticed right away. Our companion Luna got in the way more often than not, but hey, that happens sometimes. And Baldo was extremely frail. I jumped down from a 2.5-foot ledge, and the guy kinda just keeled over. Okay, no worries, it's the beginning of the game, we don't have any armor, and Luna did say we were shrimpy, so I guess it checks out. Now, the intro does kind of drag on. They lay about 12 side quests on you, though you can only do about 3 at the moment. Okay, no problem. So we finally ditch Luna and head to the first dungeon, an old haunted ship. Pretty cool. It's kind of a bold move, making us complete 75% of the first dungeon without a sword, but hey, it just makes us all the more grateful when we finally get one, right? So we beat the boss in a okay boss fight, then we get the blessings from our dad to go on our grand adventure. Okay, so Baldo's story is pretty heavy-handed. As soon as you wake up, the ancient wise oracle is like,
Baldo, you have blonde hair and a red scarf. I knew you would be the chosen one since you were a baby. Now go and collect the 3 owl relics and save the world.
So, not really expecting any big twists or turns in the story. No, besides Baldo's childhood friend Luna secretly being the princess of the neighboring town, and despite living there their entire lives, somehow nobody's the wiser. But besides that, kind of a vanilla level plot. So the story isn't a major selling point, no big deal. I'm really excited about exploring this strange new world and meeting all its colorful, quirky characters. So being out in the world, you get more confirmation that Baldo is pretty frail. You might have been a big tentacle monster, but he doesn't have anything on these lizard dudes who are casually walking around and can pretty easily one-shot you. No worries, we can just avoid them, I guess. We head into our first big town, some things happen, and no sooner do we say goodbye to Luna than we're paired with some new traveling companions. Sure, no problem. We run around town picking up another huge bundle of side quests before we set out on our main quest. We just need to consult our, helpful map. And we're on our way to our next location. And the next one. And the next one. Until finally, after 5 dungeons and 21 hours into the game, I have to admit to myself, I'm not actually having fun. Every time I meet a new character, got a new item, travel to a new location, I thought, hey, this looks like fun. Or, oh, things might get interesting now. But it wasn't, and it didn't. I do have to mention here that the game is pretty hard, which really isn't an issue for me. I actually prefer difficult games. Only Baldo's difficulty seems to be based more on mechanics than anything else, like dodge rolls that barely cover any distance, and consistent fall damage levels, fixed camera angles that obscure both you and your enemies, weird hitboxes, glitch traps, and so on. The puzzles weren't exactly a highlight either. As a certified puzzle solver, when I first heard that there would be a heavier focus on puzzles, I found it intriguing. But puzzle solving in Baldo is not a fun experience. The average puzzle I encountered in Baldo was on par with the most frustrating puzzles in the Zelda series. Sometimes success of a puzzle comes down to a fraction of a second timing, and since it is in fact a puzzle, you think maybe you're barking up the wrong tree. That is until you get it to work on your 11th attempt. Then you're like, oh, I did have the right answer all along. I was just an eighth of a second too slow. The best way I can describe the game is that they put the setting of Baldo in a fun world, but they didn't make it fun to be in that world. The game definitely needs a lot of polish. And not just a generous amount. I mean that heavy polish. The instant death game over screens that don't mean anything, the severe lack of directions, the weak map, the janky combat, the convoluted puzzles, basic plot, and lack of substantial characters all combine to make Baldo a confused, frustrating mess. And this certainly isn't an isolated opinion. Once I decided to end my adventure with Baldo early, I checked out a few Let's Plays to see if maybe I was the odd man out, only to confirm the negative experiences was widespread. It was actually a little disheartening to watch a Baldo Let's Play start off with so much enthusiasm, then 10 episodes in be overtaken by frustration, until finally they eventually ended the series because it just wasn't fun. Because of a lot of the reasons that I mentioned earlier. And I can only imagine what the game must have been like before they debugged it. I wanted to like Baldo. I really did. But from my experience, the game was frustrating, unpolished, and certainly not what I would call fun. I think the game might have been a bit ambitious for a studio of its size. But hey, they did get their game out there, and that's light years ahead of most.
Light years measures distance.
I started playing Baldo around the time that they released their first big DLC, The Three Fairies, and I've heard recently that their latest expansion, The Elemental Temples, has done a lot to improve the gameplay. But whether that's true or not, it seems like you can only find Baldo when you go and search for people talking about it. Or, I guess, unless you tune into a Reaper's review. I guess Baldo just wasn't destined to rise to a level of relevancy. But what about you? Have any of you played Baldo? If so, what was your experience? Let us know in the comment section. I'm curious to know your thoughts, especially those of you who might have played the new DLC. And if you made it this far, don't forget to leave a like on the video on your way out. It does the channel a lot of good. And with that, my name is D Reaper, and I'm a YouTuber for fun. Today's challenge, touch grass. Good luck, and I'll see you all in the next one.